Well, are premium credit cards worth it? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, if you got a question for me, I've got an answer for you. All you do is go to prudentmoney.com, send a question in. We'll get that taken care of for you. Very easy. Once you get to the site at prudentmoney.com, you look at the top of the page, and there is a link that says Ask Prudent Money. Just tap through that link and send us an email with your question, and we'll get you taken care of. It's all that easy. All at prudentmoney.com. Well, before we talk some credit cards today, why you need to be careful, let's talk about our national debt. So I watch these numbers pretty closely and glance at them from time to time because I like to keep up with how big the national debt's actually getting. And I was just shocked to hear today that we had just crossed the $38 trillion level. Now, to put this in perspective, a trillion is 1,000,000,001,000,000s. Now, I know that's tough to get your arms wrapped around that, but 1,000,001,000,000s. And we have 38 of those 1,000,001,000,000s. It's hardly even, you look at it and you go, how in the world will we ever dig our way out of this? And of course, politicians don't really care one way or the other, or let me say it doesn't appear that they care. And with $38 trillion, a lot of money. What is very disturbing to me is that we crossed 36 trillion back in November of 2024. 36 trillion. In August of 25, we crossed 37 trillion. So if you can do the math, that was 9 months that we added another trillion onto it. Then literally, ladies and gentlemen, 2 months later, we've just crossed 38 trillion. That is unbelievable. And think about it from the standpoint of, we did collect quite a bit in tariffs. Now, whether they require Trump to give that back because he wasn't really authorized to be able to do that, of course, he thinks differently, is another story. But that should have had a positive reaction to the debt. But no, a little over 2 months went from $37 to $38 trillion. We are definitely going to have to get our arms around this one, because it really does seem like it's getting out of control. Now, amongst that money is credit card debt. Patrick Mueller was on my show the other day, and we were talking about credit card debt, and I believe it's hit $1.25 trillion. A very alarming number, to say the least. And one of the things I'm noticing is that credit card companies are aggressively marketing premium credit cards. Now, these are designed for those who are wealthy, that are successful. They it's kind of like wearing a designer watch. If you pull out your American Express Black card, and these are high-cost membership cards loaded with benefits. And the way that they market it is that after the savings that you get from the benefits they offer and all the perks and all that kind of thing, you more than take care of that annual fee. And we're talking $500 to $1,000 a year. And I mean, you can do the math. That really does add up. And the black card, the platinum card, are they worth it? I've always felt like the reward points, and which is one of the reasons why some people actually do get credit cards, is for the points, are best spent on travel. And if you're traveling a lot, you can get the benefits of that. But also, if you're traveling a lot, you're probably already getting those benefits. So I really can't see where spending that much more money a year really does make that much sense. But they've been doing this and gouging people and taking people's money for so long now. And one of the things we talk about on Prudent Money is what is behind those stories, so that you can really understand how to maximize credit cards, and when you use them, and using them in the right way. I'm not saying don't use them, I'm just saying use them in the right way. To give you an example of how credit card companies have, and we're talking about several of these examples, but how credit card companies have taken advantage of the consumer, is the Citi Simplicity card. Now, this was back in, I believe, 2008. And the whole idea behind the Citi Simplicity card was that there's no more late fees. No more fees of any kind. And if you recall back around that time period, there was a lot of stories about late fees and all types of fees. So basically what they're doing is they are marketing to those potential credit card customers who hate fees. I mean, that's going to be the first thing that gets your attention. We've all paid them. You pay it because you accidentally forgot about the date. You got it in a day too late. You didn't realize. And don't kid yourself. The system is set up for you to fail without question. And which is the unfortunate part about it. And when I wrote my book, Deceptive Money, which is all about the debt industry and how to get out of debt, I was amazed at some of the stories that I came across of how they take advantage of people. So as I say in the book, and I say all the time on the radio show, they're not here to be your friend, and they're not here to give you a good deal. So let's just make sure everybody gets that straight as they deal with them. So this Citibank card had this commercial where you see the guy getting up in the morning, getting ready for work. He's obviously running late, stressed. He gets to the kitchen table, about to put his hand on the doorknob to leave to go to his work, and he notices the credit card statement sitting on his table. He panics. He realizes that if he doesn't take the opportunity right now to get this taken care of, he not only will get a late fee, he could lose his interest rates. I mean, there's just the list goes on the potential bad things that could happen because he was going to be late in paying this fee, and end up paying a fee. And then he remembers he has a Simplicity credit card and everything is okay. He'll pay that tomorrow because he won't get that pesky little $37 fee charged against his credit card for being late. What they don't tell you is, sure, you're going to dodge that $37 fee, no question. What a great deal that is. But according to the card member agreement, if you are late one day by 5 minutes, whatever the criteria is, they will put you into the penalty rate, which at the time was not that much more than what the highest rate on, we'll talk about this in a minute, what the highest rate of credit on credit cards is right now. So you won't have to pay that $37, but your 0% interest rate just turned to 29. And finally, the regulators came up and took them to task on their marketing, and they had to stop marketing that credit card the way they were marketing it. So it kind of went away. And then it came back again, and they stressed the no fees, but no changes in your interest rate. But what's interesting is that, sure, there's no change in your interest rate, but at the least bit of change that does happen with this Simplicity card, you could have a much, much worse if they elected to do it. Now, it's important to know about the card agreement guide, or the card card member agreement. When you sit down to fill out an application for a credit card, you feel like the one pager that they give you is pretty much tells you everything that could happen if you screw up using this card. Best way to put it. If you are in a situation where you've experienced some of this, you need to know that that summary of card benefits or costs or whatever is simply that. It's a global look at it. If you really want to know what's going to happen, what the details with the fine print is, you will go to the card member agreement. And the one that I'm looking at for Citi Simplicity is 12 pages long. Now, they have, this thing is loaded with information of what they could do to you. And we'll start with, and I'm flipping through the pages at the moment. We'll start with what happens when you move your money over, and you're basically not paying any interest at all. And it's a good deal up until a point, as you'll see. But they're moving right along. They're not paying any interest. And it says at the end of your 0% interest rate period, we have the right, based on your credit worthiness, to charge you an interest rate between the ranges of 18% and 29%. 18%, the best rate that you could get. That's what it just still blows my mind. And so here's what could end up happening. Let's say that you are with the Citi Simplicity card. Let's say that you are late a couple of times, which typically credit card companies consider a negative. But you're late a couple of times. They could consider you a higher risk card member, and the next thing you know, you could go from having excellent credit card interest rates, excellent credit score, to paying 22, 23% just because you were late because the marketing said there was no late fee, so you didn't see any problem. There's always a catch. You've got to know that, and you've got to be real careful with that. Let's move on. A lot of fine print. Of course, they go through all the fees and how the payments are handled. Authorized users. This is something that I just want to bring up real quick. Check with your American Express, because I know American Express does this, and or any of your major credit cards that you use, and see if you can put your kids on your card as an authorized user. Now, obviously, they're not going to do it if they're 10 or 12, but if maybe it just depends on the guidelines with the company, because they can benefit or they can be hurt by your credit activity. It's just something that always looking for ways to help my kids, my two boys, build a good credit score, and they both have been able to do that because I took the time to teach them the responsibilities of what goes along with it. And it can be a good thing when they get out of school and they've got a good credit rating. It helps with a job. It helps with, maybe buying a car, buying a house someday. So here are those what you need to understand about these credit cards and what the situation is. They can put you into default. Now, this doesn't say anything about saving you a fee, raising your interest rates, or anything like that. If you default on your card, and they define what a default is, it is you don't pay at least the minimum payment due by the due date. Well, in any of these examples, that's what you've done, right? You have not paid your minimum payment. You have a returned payment. You file for bankruptcy. You don't honor the terms of the agreement. So they can default. They can put you in default just because you didn't follow along with their rules, which is 12 pages of rules, by the way. You default under any other card agreement you have with us. What's interesting is Citibank, and I believe this is correct, ties all of their credit cards to one agreement. So if you have an account over here and you miss you miss a payment or something happens over here, it can affect any other credit card that you have with Citibank. And that's the way most credit card companies work. It's kind of not such a great thing. Of course, they tell you how things can be shared with your credit reporting agencies, how that can work. And let's see, and then if you don't like their decision or you don't agree with their decision, they have a process called arbitration, which is one of those things where the consumer rarely wins. It's stacked so against the consumer in winning an arbitration agreement. So there you have it. Is the fine print and what you want to be real careful about. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you have a question for me, just go to the website and go to the top of the page link. Go through that link, and I'll get you taken care of. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Now, I want to tell you about probably the biggest nightmare credit card I've ever come across and read you some of this. Unbelievable. And the sheer arrogance of this company and this bank not to care what's happening to their card holders. It's the Strata Elite card holder or credit card. It's their premium credit card. They're trying to get into that premium space. And here's the quick summary that I'm going to read you some of the stories. Citi Strata Elite cardholders are reporting account freezes and inability to access rewards. So Citibank is just randomly freezing these accounts, and they try to use it and they can't use it. Can't use their rewards, which they've actually are followed the rules and received fair and square. Customers say they were required to submit an IRS income verification form to unfreeze their accounts. Now, you're talking about jumping through some hoops just to do this. Citi stated it regrets the inconvenience and is assessing processes. It declined to disclose the number of affected customers. So much for transparency. Here's one story. When Brad Collett heard about Citi's new Strata Elite credit card with perks like airport lounge access and a dedicated service line for top-tier commercials, he decided to splurge on his first premium card. The customer service nightmare that followed convinced him to file his first complaint with federal regulators. Across the country, Citi Strata Elite customers say they have been locked out of their accounts for weeks, unable to make purchases or redeem rewards that cost an annual fee of $595. To unlock the card and rewards, the bank requires its customers to submit an income verification form from the IRS. In a statement, Citi said it regretted the inconvenience of some of the card members have experienced. Sounds more like just some, if you ask me. It says we are continuously assessing our processes and communication for improvement and are committed to effective resolutions. But nowhere in this article or their prepared statements does this say, we are so sorry that this has happened and we are preparing to make it right. Just, hey, we regret that it happened. Of course, they don't disclose how many people that this has affected. Let's see, what else? For about a month, this is back to the gentleman I was talking about a second ago. For about a month after receiving his card, Brad Collett used it for everyday purchases to reach that spending target. You hit that spending target, you get rewarded. Then the card suddenly, to my shock and surprise, started getting declined, just about the time that he was hitting his target date, which has a time limit to it. They said they did that because he needed to submit additional documentation. In a written response to Collett's complaint reviewed by the Wall Street Journal, Citi said credit card issuers can suspend or close accounts at their discretion. Because this guy did nothing wrong at all, and they fire back with, we can do whatever we want to. We can abuse this customer. We can close this account. We can do anything we want. Keep that in mind as you deal with your next credit card. And unfortunately, I didn't even get to all that I want to talk about. We'll probably stretch this into next week and talk a little bit more about it, because these are things I think you need to know. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.